What is the greatest comeback to an insult you've ever heard? Joe Pine interviewing Frank Zappa Joe. I guess your long hair makes you a woman. FZ. I guess your wooden leg makes you a table. During WWW1, Switzerland had a tiny standing army, but they were very skilled marksmen. Wilhelmshaven of Germany asked what 250k Swiss troops would do if he decided to invade with 500k German troops. The Swiss said, "Shoot twice and go home." My grandparents used to bicker. My grandmother generally came out on top as she was a fire eater. One time, though, she was asking him to do a bunch of stuff, and he muttered, "If you'd lose some weight, you could do it yourself." She fixed her gaze on him and glowered, "I'm thinking of getting rid of about 200 pounds of useless fat immediately." He replied, "You're going to cut off your foot?" Someone yelled out in a Walmart, "I'm not ashamed of who I am." Another voice echoed back, "That's your parents' job." Saw a clip of a stand-up comedian the other day, and he says something along the lines of, "The first time I had sex, it was terrible. The first time I had sex." And a woman chimes in with, "You mean yesterday?" Crowd laughs for a while, and while the comedian is waiting for them to calm down, you can see the gears turn in his head. Once it gets down to basically a few chuckles, he just says, "Glad you remember," and the crowd just lost their shit. It was amazing. I used to work with this 70-year-old woman. She was our supervisor, and one day, one of the ladies who worked with us told this old lady to kiss my ass. And the old lady replied, "Where do I start? You're so fat your crack goes all the way up your back." I asked my mother why she always wears makeup despite being in her 40s. She told me she wears makeup so she doesn't look like me edit. I was 9. A guy makes fun of his bald friend by rubbing his head and saying, "Wow, your head is as smooth as my wife's bottom." The friend also rubs his head and says, "Wow, you're right." One of my coworkers was cold calling customers, trying to get appointments to drum up business. One of them told him to go fuck his hand, and he responded with, "I've got that penciled in for 3. I should be done by 4 if you'd like to come in for an appointment then?" The guy laughed his ass off and ended up coming in for the appointment. I was the one insulted, but not the one with the comeback. I was out with a coworker and her friends, and my buddy and I were leaving a little too early for her sensibilities. She jokingly got up in my face and said, "Smell that? Smells like pussy." A guy playing at the pool table next to us stepped forward and said, "I'm sorry, that must be me. I just ate. It was amazing." Not heard, but read. Easily the Spartans replied to Philip II of Macedon. As Philip II of Macedon was conquering Greek city-states left and right, Sparta was left alone. Philip had achieved a crushing victory, and Sparta was relatively weak and without walls. Philip sent a message to the Spartans saying, "If I invade Laconia, you will be destroyed, never to rise again." The Spartans replied with one word, "If." My grandma asked my cousin, who'd had lots of partners and 2 kids at this point, if she was ever going to get married. Cousin, "It's not the same nowadays. We don't buy cars without test driving them first." Grandma, "Yeah, but they don't let you put 100,000 miles on them either." The point goes to Granny. In high school, we congregated in our cliques around the benches. One friend is cracking his knuckles and does this fairly often. Another friend saw this and remarked, "You pop your hands a lot. You must jerk off a lot." The friend that popped his hands immediately looks at him and calmly says, "You pop your jaw a lot. You must suck dick a lot." Weirdly enough, no one laughed. We just all shrugged and took it as a logical explanation. It's been over 20 years and I still think about the logic. Edit. Wow, look at those numbers. Thanks, internet fam. As for the informative comments about changing clicks to cliques for the sake of the story, I think I'll leave it as is. In middle school, a boy asked when I was going to grow some boobs. So I asked him when he was donating his. I'm still really proud of that one. Edit. I didn't expect this to blow up, but I remember this clearly. He was walking out of English I was walking in. We met at the doorway and were chest to chest. And he looks me in the eye and says, "Grow some tits." Without missing a beat, I reply, dead-faced, "Donate yours." Then proceed to proudly walk to my desk with a big smile. Also, I did eventually grow some boobs. They are small, but they are nice. Context. John Oliver from HBO interviews. Stephen Hawking, may he rest in peace. J.O. And there may be a universe where I am more intelligent than you? S.H. There may even be a universe where you are funny. On a construction site one afternoon, different trades were working in the same area. Like silly team sports, the Sparkies always hang with the Sparkies, and the Turd Wranglers always hang with the Turd Wranglers. And anytime they're together, it turns into a pointless dick measuring contest, usually not literally. One particularly childish exchange saw 2 men chopping back and forth. My dick biggest, blah blah blah. Finally, one of them spits out this classic, "I've got girth like a can of corn," and the clapback was unforgettable. "But you've got length like a can of tuna." Everyone busted up. Mr. Girth tried to hide his embarrassment, but was tied up. No comeback, and a room of men laughing uncontrollably. Good times. A friend in high school on our way to a track meet. He was staring at a car in the parking that was really nice when this bag saw him. D-bag. Why bother looking at that when you know you'll never be able to get one? My friend, the same reason you watch porn. The entire bus erupted, and it's still one of the funniest things I've ever heard. It was an exchange between two coworkers a few years back, basically a slut shaming gone wrong. Person A had only ever slept with one person, their previous boyfriend whom they were still obsessed with. Person B was the opposite, and would bang a different person every week. Person A. I can't believe how many people you've slept with. I don't understand how people can have sex with someone they aren't in love with. Person B. Well, your ex-boyfriend seemed to manage it okay. Person A. Silence as he dies inside edit. Yes, guys, he had an ex-boyfriend. Person A was a gay man. It's not a typo, it's 2020. My grandma got into a fight at the grocery store with a guy who told my 9-year-old brother to move the fuck out of the way. They were going at it, and his final words were, "Suck my dick, bitch." She said across the store, "If I could find it, bitch." Edit, not Walmart. Even better, Aldi. Glenn McGrath, Aussie cricketer, got frustrated with Edo Brandes as his every attempt to stump Brandes failed. This is what happened next. McGrath. Why are you so fat? Brandes. Because every time I fuck your wife, she gives me a biscuit. Definitely a great comeback, but not to an insult, more to an annoyance. I was a camp counselor for a few years at a summer camp. One day, my group took a hike to a large rock where we had lunch. My campers were between 8 and 10 years old. This one kid we'll call Jeff keeps poking another kid we'll call Matt in my group to, "Look at this hole in the rock. It's so cool, it's like 6 inches deep." And the other kid is clearly getting annoyed just trying to eat his lunch. He keeps shoving sticks into the hole and trying to get everybody to look at it. Finally, Matt just puts down his sandwich, looks at Jeff, and goes, "I'll be 6 inches deep in your mom later if you don't shut up." I was trying so hard to be stern with this kid for saying something so inappropriate, but I kept cracking up. It was just such a disproportionately ridiculous thing to say coming from a 9-year-old. I can't remember the best one I've heard, but I can remember the best comeback I ever did. It is also, in fact, the only good comeback I ever did. I was in 7th grade, and we were in the locker room after gym. People were discussing shoe sizes because this one kid had enormous feet. I don't know if I have small feet, but mine were the smallest. They said, "Small feet, you know what that means." I didn't mind too much, but one kid crossed the line. He said, "Don't worry, fella. There's like 10 different ways to make it bigger." So I said, "Have you tried all 10? Not very impressive, but it shut him up. I work at a hotel. A few years ago, this guest got into a spat with our security officer over something. But she wasn't getting whatever she wanted, so she told him he was full of S_____. Our security officer replied immediately, "No, I'm not. I took care of that this morning. But thank you for your concern for my good health and regularity." At this time, I was about to bust up laughing, so I had to excuse myself to the back office. And as I was leaving, I heard him continuing on with this lady, deadpan. "But I promise I eat a healthy diet full of fiber. It warms my heart to know you're concerned with me having regular bowel movements. So the next time I'm constipated, I know you're thinking of me." It continued on, and all the more he's playing this deadpan, and it's making the lady madder, and I'm in the back laughing so hard I'm nearly crying. After that spiel was over, though she didn't give us any more problems the rest of the night. Many years ago, when we were about 18, a friend of mine was arguing with another person we knew. This person was trying to be a badass and intimidate my buddy. He says, "My feet are registered." Without missing a beat, my friend replies, "Where? Health and sanitation?" 40 years later, I still crack up at this when it comes to mind.